Alright, so I watched Alien Romulus, and we are back with this franchise after so many years, and I feel like we are going back to the roots of the earlier films with this movie, and I gotta say, I really enjoyed it, and for what they pull off from the story to the practical effects and the way that it dives deep back into lore, it is very impressive as well. And so this will be my full review, no spoilers, go over my thoughts and what impressed me, and even with the third act and all that stuff, and you have so much more to talk about, so especially what Fede Alvarez has done with this and much more. And so if you're new, then be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any future videos, including this one. But now, let's talk about it. And now, if you know the Alien franchise, from Alien to Aliens, those are the ones directed by Ridley Scott and James Cameron, like the best films of all time from the early days. But then even with the later installments, they got even worse. With the last few films that came out with Prometheus and Covenant, that were also directed by Ridley Scott, but now, even now, we are back like years later with Alien Romulus, that is directed by Fede Alvarez, and I can tell for what his vision was, and I can tell he really studied this franchise and to lean back into us, the viewer, for what he done with the movie and with the practical effects, especially with the xenomorph that is back, which I really love, especially with those alien creatures that are very creepy, and even with the premise of this movie is with a bunch of crew members as stumble upon a space station that come face to face, with the alien creature. But even though I had the vibes of the earlier films, and that's what this film generally felt like, and I feel like, I saw this in IMAX, and even with the way that it was presented, and this was filmed with IMAX cameras, and it was like in like a sudden aspect ratio. It really takes you on a journey through a space station while also being terrified at the same time. Specifically from the story standpoint and for how it plays out, this is following our crew members, and so especially with Keely Spaney as Rain, and with her brother that is basically a robot and that is like controlled by some company, and even though with our friends, and that's stumble upon a space station called Romulus, and even as they're stuck on there trying to get the engine going, but then they discover something in there that's like truly terrifying, especially as they are now in danger and learning what's really behind things. And even because I think if you're wondering where this takes place inside of the timeline, I think they mainly said it's taking place in between the events of Alien and Aliens. But from what I can tell, I'm not gonna spoil it right here, but there are some roots like after the first Alien movie. The first Alien movie that you should definitely check out, by the way, before watching this movie. It definitely touched upon the roots of that film, because even from what you could feel like from the sound design and the way that it felt like, and wow, it had like the best VFX I've ever seen for an alien film, and trust me, I was impressed for what was thrown to the screen, especially as making us the viewer feeling terrified for our main characters as they're on the run for their lives, trying not to get eaten, but of course it's a xenomorph. It comes after you and tries to eat you up. But what I can also tell with Fede Alvarez, I think he really does a good job of leading towards what he knows about the franchise. And even with Ridley Scott, who has a producer role on this, who's also attached to this film, he knows the Alien franchise, because he literally started it with the first Alien, because that's what I can really tell. Like, he directed the last Alien movie, Alien Covenant, but even with having this film Romulus, that is like set back into the lore of the earlier films, if you know what I mean. It definitely felt like that, and I feel like with our main character, Rain, I feel like she did a really good job of pulling off some of the main stuff, and she was definitely the final girl, and of the way that they perform all of the stuff, especially, I mean, everyone is definitely going to be talking about the third act and with the way that it goes off on a completely different level like we've ever seen before, and it definitely has the vibes of the first Alien, and you with Keely Spady, like she's like the next level Sigourney Weaver. I mean, I don't know if I want to put that out just yet, but it definitely had the vibes of Ripley from her character's standpoint of trying to kill this alien of the xenomorph. It's definitely more intense than I ever imagined it to be. Even, wow, there's some brutal stuff that goes down during the second act. Like once it like really kicks in, it really draws you in for what you would expect, and there's some gruesome deaths. Like especially for when it's pulled off. Oh, it pulled it off brilliantly. Like, and even that, this is a movie that you have to see on the big screen, especially in IMAX. That's a definite like a recommended screen format, by the way. But trust me, you'll definitely be mind blown for what you see in this movie. It's just like out of this world. From the way that they start the movie and from the way that they finish it, it has a total vibes of the earlier days of the franchise. Another thing that I was impressed by is with the design of the alien creatures, specifically with the xenomorph, which I really enjoyed that they brought back into this franchise, because, I mean, trust me, those creatures were definitely terrifying, especially for how it goes after the characters, after how they're scared to death. And even with the face huggers, and oh my gosh, the amount of times like they like scare me, or like somehow maybe jump out of my seat. It was truly terrifying. And they're also the face of the recent popcorn bucket, by the way, just so you guys know. And now for what I can say about the third act, it is definitely something that it'll have you on the edge of your seat for. That it has the vibes, especially for the first Alien, and for what they pull off at the end of this movie. It is really wow. It is totally on another level, and from wow, like just for what they use in the terms of practical effects. I mean, people will definitely be talking about it, especially with Alvarez and his knowledge of the franchise for what he pulled off in the third act, and with what Ridley Scott knows, because he started the franchise in the first place. I think I was blown away by the third act. I cannot tell if it was underwhelming in my opinion, but there are definitely stuff that goes down, especially for what sets up the final minutes of the movie. For what Keely Spady, aka Rain, in this movie was able to achieve, like in terms of how to kill this alien. But trust me, it is something that you should definitely see big. With the kills that go down in this movie, it feels totally epic. You could really feel the intensity that is built within the action that it delivers on the space station, as these characters are terrified for their lives, running from this creature as it is starting to develop along with its other species and trying to learn about it. And like, oh my gosh, like wow, like even towards the middle half for when it happens. But man, like, but especially for when like someone gets killed, I mean, it totally leaves me in shock. And so to wrap this all up is I really enjoyed the film, and I definitely like its story, its plot. But my final thoughts is I really enjoyed this film. I thought Romulus was the definite thrill ride. It was definitely worth coming back to this franchise, and for what Fede Alvarez did, he knocked it out of the park, especially with the practical effects. Especially from the alien design to the xenomorph, from the facehuggers and just everything. It was thrilling, and I think there's like some key issues but I think general audiences will definitely get a feel out of this, especially if you're a big time fan, or if you don't know anything, just go in this movie and you'll thank me later. But it really takes us back to the Alien franchise, the old days. But again, I enjoyed the cast from its storyline, and I enjoyed all of it. It's a definite recommend for me, so enjoy it. But that's gonna do it for this video. Just let me know in the comments below, and if you've seen Romulus, and give me a rating between 1 out of 10. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to turn on notifications for future videos, and also follow all my social medias, all of which linked down below, including my Patreon. And with that, I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.